Good evening, everybody. Hi, hello. How you guys doing? Welcome to our chosen moment, the very first chosen moment of this year, 2021. I have until January 31st to wish you all the best wishes for 2021 and beyond. So I'm using this opportunity for all of you who are watching us week after week since we started to thank you all for being part of our community, but also to wish you the best for 2021. Today is a testimony not to be missed. Today, my friend, I call her my Trini, is sharing her testimony live for the first time. In January 2019, she was clinically declared dead twice. I'm not going to share the story for her. I'm just going to let her in and have her share her own testimony with her own words. We have a special guest today from a ministry that we love called the Ark Ministry of Healing. We were honored to be ministered by them, and we want them to be part of Anaïs stories and Anaïs testimony. So I'm going to invite Marcus and Anaïs on the live with me. Hi, everybody. Hi, Anaïs. Hi, Marcus.
I
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Brian. Hi, James. Thank you for joining
Hi,
us for this
Marcus. Hi.
conversation. So, Anaïs, we are hearing you from far away.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, we can hear you better. So that means that you have to
Okay, I'll
hold the
try
mic
to
with
use
you
my
almost during the whole conversation.
Okay, I will
Okay,
try.
awesome. Are you comfortable with that? Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
amazing. Let's start with, if that's okay with you, Anais, let me start with letting Mark introduce himself and introduce what the Ark Ministry Healing Room is.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Marcus Kierwald. I live in New York City. Together with my wife, we are leading the ministry called the Ark Healing Rooms. We're not a church. We are just we are 501c3 non-profit, and the Lord put on our hearts to just start a ministry where we bring volunteers from different churches together and then pray for the sick, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's obviously physically. We pray for everybody who comes through the doors. And the purpose is also not only to actually see and do what the Lord called us to do 2,000 years ago, and what He still wants us to do, but also to equip the church and the volunteers from different churches so we can send them back into their churches so they start doing whatever the Lord called us to do in their own churches. So we meet every other Saturday in person right now, even though it's COVID. But we feel like, no, we have to go out there. We have to create a platform for the Holy Spirit to move and for people to come and encounter the Holy Spirit.
That is amazing. Thank you for joining us, Mark. Anais, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good
And
afternoon.
after you introduce
Good
yourself,
afternoon this
let
evening.
us know also. Can you hear us?
Yes.
So I just want to say, Anais, after you introduce yourself, can you also tell us why we have invited Mark to this session with us today? Marcus.
Okay. Good afternoon this evening, everybody. My name is Anaïs. Um, Today I will be sharing with you my testimony, which is quite unusual. And we have asked Marcus to join us as he ministered to me. And during the ministry, he learned about my um, my testimony, and he wanted to share it on his platform. And we felt it would be more uh, convivial to do it all together, and for everybody to have a part of it, and to help me as well to share the testimony, maybe in a way that I don't see it, or in an angle that may benefit more people.
Mm.
So this is why we have Marcus here co-hosting with Carlita. Do you want me to start with testimony, or do you want to ask me some questions to guide me
Yes,
along?
it's
How
a
do you
nice
go about
show.
this?
This is your show. Run it as you like. Marcus and I will just interject from time to time to ask questions to maybe like help people see different angles as you shared. And then other than that, this is your story and this is your room today and your opportunity to edify us about what you've lived.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody to come and join. I hope that the sound will be good enough. And I pray, and we've prayed already, that the connection would sustain us throughout the testimony. So keep praying for us so that we can all hear what God wants to say through me through this testimony. So on January 21st, 2019, I was 3 months pregnant when I suddenly woke up um, screaming in sheer pain, and I was bleeding. We raced to the hospital in like 15 minutes, and upon arrival, probed by the medical team, they announced to me that I had suffered another miscarriage, so which was the third for me in a row. So my whole family started coming over and saying, "Can you hear me, guys? I thought I saw myself coming outside." Okay. Um, so as I was saying, the doctor announced to me that I had a miscarriage, and it was pretty devastating for me and my family because it was a pregnancy that we were waiting on, and it was the third miscarriage in a row within a couple of years, and so at that point we had prayed, we praised God, we had faith and all that, and yet again it was ending in the miscarriage when everything was going fine with the miscarriage. 2 days prior to it, the latest exams have been done and everything was fine, so it was quite a surprise for everyone. And the doctors realized that the babies, because they were twins, were stuck in my cervix and they could not come out. So they tried to bring them out with their bare hands. So I can't even start to describe the kind of pain that you go through when another human being has his arms inside of you and trying to bring out two small babies of you without any anesthesia or anything like that. So it was extremely painful, the type of pain that I mean you've never encountered before. So that was quite traumatizing as well. Um, they still couldn't bring the babies out, so I was brought to the delivery room, and upon arriving in the delivery room, I was put on anesthesia because I couldn't push the babies out. I was physically extremely weak, and I just couldn't push. I was really exhausted. I had no strength at all. So they put me under anesthesia, and from then on, everything that happened is being told to me. Um, so few minutes after I went into anesthesia, I was still losing a lot of blood. So they sent a nurse outside to the waiting room to ask my family members who was O positive so that they could give the blood to me because there was not enough blood in the hospital bank, and they didn't even get to bring them to the room where they could draw the blood. That the doctor came out and announced to them that I was dead, I had passed away. So by then it is 9 a.m. So everything happens within like from the moment I woke up at 8 to the time I arrived at the hospital at 8:15, and so within 45 minutes of arriving at the hospital, I had passed away. I had had a cardiac arrest. My brain was declared dead. I had had septic shock and hemorrhage. hemorrhagic shock. I hope that's how you pronounce it in English. So I had, in shorter term, it means that I lost all my blood, and so there was no more in me, um, no pulse. I had a cardiac arrest, and my brain was not functioning anymore. My brain was dead. So my family was completely devastated. They were going from one bad news to one that was even worse, something they could not foresee. There was no way they could have even felt that this could happen. Um, so the medical team tried to revive me as much as they could, but there was nothing they could do. And so they brought me out and to bring me to the cold room. And on the way to the cold room, my family saw the movements, they saw them passing, and they all rushed and came towards the bed that they were carrying. And they started screaming my name. They were crying, trying to touch me. And they said that I was completely white. My body was really cold and stiff. And at that moment, I actually woke up. I opened my and I turned my head towards everybody, to each and every person who was actually calling my name. So everybody was saying Anaïs, Anaïs. I would like turn toward them. They said that I was turning like that. Then I turned to the next person and to the next person, but my gaze was completely empty. And I don't have a recollection of that moment. So that's the one that is being told to me by my parents and by the medical team who was there. So at this point, my family decided that they were not bringing me to the room anymore, and they were sending me to the intensive care unit. And as they turned around to bring me to the intensive care unit, I actually had a second cardiac arrest right in front of my family. And my eyes went just like fell, and my head, my eyes turned, and my head fell as well. And I had like all the movement in my chest of someone going into a cardiac arrest. So they brought me to the intensive care unit, and they tried for more than 25 minutes to revive me, and nothing. There was nothing that could be done. They could not attempt any blood transfusion. I was not reacting to anything. In fact, I was getting more rigid and cold, and the color of my skin had turned to white grayish, they said, really pale. So they left me on that bed in the intensive care unit. I was not attached to anything. There was no machine on me. They said they tried the defibrillator, but it was not working. In fact, when I came back to life, my whole chest was burnt. They had tried it so much. They didn't want to let me go, and they were really devastated about the whole thing. So they were not successful um, in reviving me, and so they went to announce to my family that I had passed away again. So a second time. And by that time, it was 10 a.m. So the first time I had died, I was dead for like an hour. And when I came I was like alive, let's say for like like 15 minutes or so, and then I passed away again. So that was the second time. Hello, can you hear me?
So we can hear you, but I feel like the internet is going in and out. Is it the
Can
same
you
for
guys
you,
hear me?
Martin? Yeah, we can hear you now.
It looks like I'm not sure that that you guys can hear me.
No, we can hear you, but I just feel like the internet connection is not very stable. So you are going in and out. So I think the fact that you are
Hello?
speaking slowly is also helping. But I'm not sure if we can review the internet. I don't know what exactly
Hello?
is happening, but it's cutting off. Yeah, a lot.
Hopefully you can hear me. But those are the
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Can you hear us, Hanais? I don't know. Every time we try to share this testimony, everything was great until until we are actually live, which is absolutely ridiculous. But as Anais is trying to figure out the connection and internet, um, um, dispositions, Marcus, I don't know if you want. Have you ever heard of such a story from your ministry? I know that you actually minister to a
hello,
lot
I'm
of
actually
people.
trying to reboot.
Have you ever like heard this kind of story before?
Yes. Okay, let me tell
No, I
you.
mean, I heard of stories of people being raised, especially through Heidi Baker um, uh,
From the connection and internet.
in Africa. But obviously, then hearing a story where somebody get raised twice from the death, when Anaïs shared with us the other day or a couple of weeks ago when we ministered to her, we were all in awe. We were like, oh my God, we need to share the testimony to give God the glory. And it's just like, it's so unreal in a way, but it's actually real because here she is on the screen. And so I'm like, I'm so fired up because he's done it before and he's going to do it again. It's going to do it again. I believe it's really during effect that this testimony is going to ignite something where we can hear more testimonies.
This is such a powerful story. Like the first time she told me this story, I was like, what? The first name that came to me right away was Lazarus. But I don't
Okay.
know anyone in the Bible even raised twice. So her new nickname for me is the modern time Lazarus. This is such like a story um, that reminds us of the God of miracles, right? The one who was raised from the dead and who got the victory over death and who actually bring us to death. When I was having the conversation as preparing for this meeting the first time in French last week with Anaïs' mother, what she told me was that we resurrect every day, like every day, because people were shocked by the fact that we use the word resurrection. And she actually ministered to me about the meaning of the word resurrection and how grateful we are to be every time we wake up in the morning and we can actually breathe and walk and talk. And as Anais would develop her story, you guys who are watching us, like you will discover how she was not even supposed to be here talking to us. You know how in the movies we see people being raised from the death like a miracle and right away start walking and jumping and doing different things. So Anais, if you are back with us, let's try the sound from your second connection and let's see how that goes. Um, and yeah, let's try this. So you were raised the second time at 10. So in what state were you? Um, like I mean, physically, mentally, what happened after that?
Um, can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Okay, great. So, uh, what I've been told, because I don't have a recollection of the first time I came back. So, what I've been told is that I was looking at everybody. I was responsive. I wasn't talking, but I was responsive in terms like if you were calling me, no matter where you were in the room, I would turn my head and look towards you. But I was
Okay,
really
so
weak.
okay, so you were weak. So you lost a lot of blood, and they were not able to give you blood. Like, how did that happen? Where did you end up finding blood from?
I lost all my blood. They never were able to give me a blood transfusion. So up until today, we have no idea where the blood that is running in my vein right now is coming from.
This is
Because the blood,
ridiculous.
my blood was on the floor in the delivery room. I had lost all my blood. All the 7 liters that we have in the body, I lost all of it. So
I
whenever
mean,
I
this is
came back the first time,
I don't need doctors who will be watching this later, but like if you are a doctor and you happen to watch this, you need to explain to us how somebody who lost all the blood in their in their body just sudden just came back to life and is now talking to us without having any blood transfusion. This for me is like miracle after miracle. Like I just don't know what to say.
yeah,
Anaïs,
that's yes, Marcus.
uh, how did they record it out? There must be files, like because there are going to be people they're questioning it. There's no doubt about it. But I'm sure you have also medical record. Let's say, guys, look, this is my death certificate in a way, and then like, oh, half an hour later or 3 hours later, they had to revise it again, and now say, yes, there was no blood, and now she's speaking again. Do you have those files actually?
I don't have a death certificate because actually, what happened is that you need somebody to. I hear myself in echo. Sorry. Can you still hear me? Okay. Um, Someone has to file all the papers. Someone from the family has to file all the papers to so the hospital can start with one part of the all the paper, all the paperwork that needs to be done, and then your family, one of your family member has to come and sign. And they never came to that point because they were so devastated and that nobody rushed them into doing it. It's not like I was going anywhere at the end of the day. I was dead. So whether they were going to take the whole day or 2 days to come and sign the papers, there was no rush.
Mm.
So nobody was rushing them. But in terms of medical record, the hospital has it, and they gave me part of it. So yeah, I do have the whole. It's pretty lengthy though. So it's pretty lengthy in terms of everything that was done in the different period in the different rooms, everything that happened, because even for them it was a first. um, Seeing people dying, it's kind of part of their job. It's not, I wasn't the first person that they saw dying, but coming back once and then coming back a second time, yeah, that one was unheard of. So they really didn't know what to do. Um, but but they did their best to. I mean, they could not revive me. They did not bring me back, but they did their best to keep me alive the second time, to keep me from not going, from not dying again, I would say. So when I came back the first time, I don't have the recollection of it, as I said earlier, but I do. So I've been told that I was looking at everybody, and then I kind of like motioned my arm at some point because everybody was trying to touch me and things. And then when I had the second cardiac arrest, this time it happens in front of my family. The first one happened in the delivery room. The second one happened in front of my family, and they say that my whole body just gave way and my chest was like moving in a compressing way, like, you know, like someone was just having uh, like a cardiac arrest, and the sound that were coming out of my throat as well when I was suffocating, um, and then I passed away. So even like all the sounds and everything, for them it's still traumatic, but for me, as I don't have any recollection of that part, I I would not be able to say, unless when I look at the movies and I try to, you know, imagine what they went through that day. But as for me, that part, I was not, I don't have recollection of it. Um, I do have a recollection of where I was when I passed away. Um, but that part I will talk about it later so that it's not confusing. So the second, so after that, they just left me on the bed, and so everybody was just in shock and everything. And 3 hours passed. So at 1 p.m., one of the nurse, um, because they had put a bed sheet over my head, so the nurse realized that the bed sheet was like moving like that, but really faintly. And then when she pulled it, she realized that I was breathing, but my eyes were closed. I wasn't moving. And I had turned from being white and pale to getting some color. And so she rang all the doctors and everything. They came. At that point, they didn't say anything to my family because it was already a whole roller coaster for everyone. So they were just like, they kind of observed me to see what was happening. And when they realized that I was actually breathing, they put me on all sort of machine they could think of. I was, I had, so here, there, all of my arms. Okay, I'm gonna try to hold the phone so that I can show you how many machine I was attached to when I came back. Hope the phone doesn't fall. If you can just bear with me. Okay, so um, so here, all of that area, I had drips and all sort of things I was attached to. Here, here, so one here, one there. I had one on, even on my foot, on my feet. I had drips and all sort of big syringe and all sort of machine beeping and being attached to, and oxygen mask. And so at that point, now they're going to say to my family that the impossible had happened, because now it's been 3 hours. Everybody can clock in that there is no way, even if I had not lost all the blood, I still was not breathing. And there is no way a human being cannot breathe for 3 hours and then wake up without, I mean, I mean, it's not supposed to happen. And so at that point, I didn't open my eyes or anything. So they said to my family, okay, this is what's happening. But we have no idea if she's ever going to regain conscious, open her eyes. And even if she does, she's going to be in a vegetative state because she's been without oxygen for 3 hours. On top of that, she had no blood. We haven't been able to do a blood transfusion, and still she's there breathing. So we are going from one anomaly to the next. but at least we can say safely that the prognostic is that if she ever wakes up, she will not be able to talk, walk. Her brain would be completely affected, and she will depend on machines for everything. And so all of them now, at that point, I don't even think for them if now they were not thinking that maybe it was better that if I was dead, because the prospect of this type of life was not, I mean, that was not good. And at 3 p.m., I opened my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, everything was blurry, completely blurry. And within a couple of minutes, I was able to see, but I was seeing everybody like in triple or in like 6 times or 8 times everyone. I couldn't see like one person just clearly. I was just seeing like in multiples. And one of the nurse, she was telling me, Anaïs, you're in the hospital, you're in intensive care unit, everything is fine, your family is here. She kept on repeating it over and over and over. At first, I could hear, for me, it was just noise from afar until I could make up the sound. The sound that was the most familiar for me was my name. So whenever someone was saying Anaïs, I would turn towards that sound, and they realized that I could hear them and I could understand them. So they were already like amazed. So the doctors came and they're doing all those tests to check my reflexes. I couldn't move apart from like trying to do this and do that. I couldn't lift a finger. The most I could do was just try to turn my head. That's it. So they checked. They have this thing that where they come on your knee and they knock it a bit to see how your knee reacts. They will touch your hands like that and your feet as well, so that it to see there are certain reflex that your body is supposed to do, and it did it. So they were just like, okay. And then there were 2 of my aunties who were on this side of the bed. And so I could hear people crying. So I would try to turn my head, but like the way I was moving was so slow. It was like, it could take me like 10 minutes just to be able to do this. So by the time I turn around and I look at them and they're crying, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, man, that pregnancy really was expected. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for them, that I've put them through this again another time. They're really grieving those babies. So for me, that was why they were crying. And then at that point, my blood pressure was at 4. I don't know if it's the same number that we use in French that we use in English. So in French, they say that it was at 4, and still I was awake. And I could hear, I could understand, and I could see. I couldn't see clearly, but I could see. So and then my aunties are saying, "You back, you're back, you're back," and I'm in my head. I'm like, "I'm back. Where did I go? I was in the delivery room, and I don't even know. I don't even understand how come I'm in intensive care unit. How did I go from delivery room to intensive care unit?" So the more they're saying, you're back, you came back, and so I'm trying to muster like the strength to talk, and it took me a good 15 minutes before I could say, where did I go? And they were all screaming. They were like, she can talk. And me in my head, I'm like, of course I can talk. Like, I was talking just like this. I mean, for me, in my mind, the way time had passed, I felt only like maybe an hour had passed. I didn't know that we were in the middle of the afternoon. I didn't know all the commotion that had happened. I didn't know all the drama they went through. The only thing I remember was that it has been announced to me that yet again I had another miscarriage, and I was in a delivery room. I was asked to push. I couldn't push, and I went under anesthesia. So that was it for me.
So when I wake up, I'm not understanding how on earth am I in intensive care unit? Why am I here? What happened? How did things go so wrong that I end up, because in my mind I'm like, if I'm in intensive care unit, something must have happened on top of just on top of already having the miscarriage. Something must have happened. And so they were all saying, so you came back, you can talk, you can see, you can hear, and you can understand. And for me, I'm like, yeah, of course I can. I mean, when did I mean, I was, so at that point I can't speak anymore, but like in my mind I have like so many questions. I'm just like, but why are they all acting this way? Why are they all so surprised that I can talk? Why are they celebrating the fact that I can see? Why are they celebrating the fact, and why are they always saying I came back? So after like maybe another half an hour, the doctor came, because and now he and then he kind of explained me what happened. And the surprising thing is that my second sentence was when he explained to me that I had died and I came back not just once but twice. My second sentence was, why did God bring me back? He should have let me die. I was, and everybody was like, how can you say that? Like, you back. And I was just like, I'm in pain. Where I was in so much peace. I was in a place where I had so much peace, so much love. And they were like, so you went somewhere? And I was like, yeah. And I started describing this place where I was. It was a place, I don't know if you saw the cartoon called Soul. There is that scene where the character passed away. And he goes into that place where it's like space, so it's dark, but it has some kind of like, it's kind of lit up. But in the cartoon there is a path. Where I was, there was no path. I was on my back. I was laying on my back as if I was on the beach or in a swimming pool, and my hands were like that, and I was going up, and I could see the delivery room. I could see my body. I could see the doctors and everything when they started to pull the babies out. So I knew I was not in my body. I knew I could not go back in my body anymore, and I knew I was not in that dimension anymore. I knew I was in a different dimension from which I could not go. I could not turn away and come back. And I was going towards a light that was so bright you could not see past the light, but at the same time it wasn't scary. And I knew that this is where I was coming from before I was in my body, even though the only place I've ever lived was in my body. And I don't, the whole entire time I've lived before that time, I didn't exactly know where I came from. But then I knew that the bright place where I was going was the place I was originating from. And from there, I will be sent somewhere else. It was really peaceful, the type of peace where I understood the sentence, rest in peace. It's a peace like I've never experienced on earth. It's a love like I've never experienced on earth. I didn't meet anybody from my family who had passed away previously. I didn't meet angels or Jesus or things like that. But I felt like I was in a place that was the source of peace and the source of love. I really don't know how to explain it otherwise. It felt like I was basking in it. There was no more pain, no more. I knew I was not in my body. I knew, I don't know how I called what I was, because I could see where my body was. I could see the people around my body, but I couldn't see, but I knew I could not go back. And I was going towards the light, and the light was really far away on top. finally, and the light was really far away, and I was going towards it. So the first time, I was going really slowly, and then I felt like I was sucked up, and that's when they told me that I woke up the first time. The second time, I was going at a much faster pace towards the light, and I almost made it to the light. And at that point, it felt like the light came towards me. It kind of embraced me, and then it pushed me back. And that's when I woke up and I opened my eyes. And when I was in intensive care unit, I was just like, the light is not the same. It's not that light. That kind of bright, I've never seen that kind of bright on earth. I don't know how to explain it. It's the shade of it, I've never seen it. But I knew the difference. So I knew I was no longer in that realm, and I was back, but in my body. But that place it was a different experience. I knew I wasn't on earth. I knew I don't think I had made it to paradise yet, but I was like in a transitory place, and I was going somewhere else where I was going to be assigned, where I was going to go for eternity. And but it was so peaceful. It was so loving. It was so healing that when I woke up and I'm attached to all sorts of things, I'm so shocked. And that's when all the trauma even started, because the transition was so brutal. Being like in that place of utter peace, and then being back in the chaos and all that, and feeling the pain. I felt the pain of my body. I felt the pain of my family. And at that point, I felt trapped. Like I was the one who caused them the pain. I was not allowed to feel more pain, because otherwise they couldn't heal. But at the same time, I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted to die. It took me more than a year to actually feel alive, to actually want to live. I attempted suicide several times. When I came back to life, I denied God. I didn't believe in Him anymore. I was not interested in this whole miracle at all. Everybody was telling me, "You're a living miracle. One day you are a testimony. You're a living testimony. One day you'll deliver the testimony. It would help so many people. It would heal others. It will restore others." And I was just like, I don't want none of that. I prayed for my pregnancies, and I just lost them one after the next. I just wanted a family. I prayed for that. That's a simple prayer. So God could not give me that simple prayer, and He had to like outdo Himself, and not only bring me once, but bring me twice. I didn't ask Him for any of it. I was dead. He should have let me die. And I wanted to go back to that place where I was in so much peace and so much love. That's where I wanted to go. The whole entire year, you go through so much suffering in your body. You disconnect completely from your body. Your body is a center of pain. You are hurting all the time. You have to learn how to walk. Like a baby, you have to start over. You have to learn how to sit, how to crawl, how to walk, how to eat. Just like a baby, you start over. Like you have to eat liquid things. With a baby, you know the rhythm. You know that, okay, from infant to 3 months, this is what he or she can eat. Then from this age to that age, you can add a little bit of more of this. But with an adult, you're supposed to eat solid things. You're not supposed to go back to milk. And we had to start this process over. We had to feed me just like you fed a baby. I was being fed through a straw. I could not even hold a spoon or a fork for months. It was So the whole thing, you just like, you feel like you are being set back. You don't see it as a miracle. You just see it as a punishment. And you feel so guilty to be back as well, because so many other people are losing loved ones. And you're like, but what did I do? Wherever I wasn't even praying for myself. I wasn't asking to come back. And yes, my family prayed. Yes, they sung praise and worship in the hospital. They were so desperate. But who doesn't pray? Who doesn't why? And I was just like, it's only the grace of God that I came back, but why me? And you feel so guilty because you're like, I I'm nobody special. I'm just a normal person. And why am I going through this unusual thing? What am I supposed to do with this? And everybody is expecting so much of me. Like, why the only thing I wanted was just a family. I didn't want none of this. And I don't know what to do with this. And for me, for the longest, it was a sad story. I didn't see how this could ever bring any light to anyone, any comfort to nobody, how this could help anyone at all. I couldn't see those angles. I didn't have the right perspective because I was in so much pain. I was suffering for so long, and my whole family was suffering with me because when they see you being so diminished, they and for 3 weeks after I came back to life, I had to stay in intensive care unit because my blood pressure was still at 4. And each and every day, they were in fear of their phone ringing to let them know maybe I didn't pass the night. Maybe this time there was no assurance that I was going to stay alive because I had died twice. So even the miracle was counterproductive in the way that, well, it happened. She died. So, and then she came back and then she died again. So, yeah, she came back this time, but who said that next time she's going to still be here? So it was a lot of strain emotionally for everyone. And then when you see your child, your daughter, your sister, your cousin, your niece, your granddaughter having to crawl as an adult like a baby for months, or and I went gradually with all the stages of crawling. And at some point, the stairs, I couldn't take the stairs. I had to go on my bum. So I would go on my behind and I would go one stair after the next. I was exhausted. I would have to pause between the stairs, so I would pass out. It it was so extraneous. Um, the recovery took a long time. So 2019 was just the physical part, and 2020 was the mental part. Because as much as at some point you're now back to walking, and the first time you are walking and you pass someone on the street, you're like, oh my God, I can walk now. Like I can even pass a normal person. Um, and then in 2020, the last time I attempted suicide was in January 2020. And then my sister found me. The first time it was my brother, and my brother was so devastated. He was completely shattered. When he found me that day, he had to make me vomit everything I had swallowed. And he was crying and begging me to stay alive, asking me, the family that you want to have so badly, does it mean that we don't exist? Does it mean that we don't count? Just because you want to have a family, you are like, we don't exist anymore. And somehow you feel like, am I allowed to have a dream, to want a family, if this is going to cost me so much and it's going to bring my family into so much pain? Do I have the right to dream about something? And you don't know what to live for anymore, because one event affected completely your whole life. A bit like what's happening in the world today. An event came out of nowhere, and then everybody is now stuck, and you don't know for how long you're going to be stuck. So after the last suicidal attempt, and my sister found me, I was like, okay, I can't do this to them anymore. I can't do this like that. I want to go back to that place where I was in so much peace and so much love, but looks like I'm not, even God doesn't want me to be there right now. And I was just like, okay, God, who are you? And I had now to go myself on an encounter on who God is. Mind you, I was born and grew up and was raised in a Christian family where all I know is God, Jesus, going to church and all that. But I realized that there is a difference between the religious way of knowing God and the one when you really encounter Him. And this one, I did it for myself because I needed to find a reason to live. I had no more reason to live. Even my family was not enough for me to stay alive. And it was a scary time for me and for everyone because at any point I could just snap, grab something, and attempt suicide. It wasn't like I was trying to write some letters or make it some acute way or whatever. I could scream for hours on end because I was in so much pain. Physically, I was in pain. Mentally, I was in pain. Emotionally, I was in pain. And I was just like, there, some days you had a good day. You wake up for a few minutes, your life is fine, everything is fine until your brain registers and remembers. And then all the pain starts again. Some weeks you have a good week, and then it will come like a wave and it crashes upon you. And you feel like you are drowning in pure air on dry land. It's a sensation that is like none other. Um, you just don't know what to do. Your whole world is spinning around you. 1 minute feels like a whole day. So whenever somebody is telling you tomorrow will be better, I was like, I'm not trying to make it to tomorrow. I'm trying to make it to the next second because 1 second feels like an hour, 1 minute feels like a day, a whole day feels like a month. A whole week, it's like a whole year has passed. The way time was passing and it was only made of suffering was unbearable. And I just wanted the suffering to stop. So at some point, you're not even trying to attempt suicide because you're not grateful that you came back. You can't live in pain constantly. Your whole body is in pain because yes, you came back. Coming back was quite instant because in total, I was dead for like 4 hours. But the recovery process took 2 years. And it's difficult. And one day, so that day at the last suicidal attempt, I decided that I'm going to choose a different difficult. I'm going to choose life. And I remember that verse that says, I put life and death in front of you. Choose life. Because I kept on saying to God, it is said that you give the breath of life, but you gave me breath twice back. Looks like you forgot to add life into it. And at that point, I really felt like a still small voice was telling me, I gave you the breath of life. Now you have to choose life. Life and death are in front of you. You need to choose life. I can't choose this for you. I gave it to you, but I cannot choose it for you. And I had to choose life, and it was a daily choice. And when I went on that journey, that spiritual journey on finding out who God was, because I completely denied Him, I didn't want to hear anything about God. You could not pray around me. You could not say anything. You could not even say God bless you in front of me. I was like, no. You want to pray? People would come and say, "Oh, I came to pray for you." I was like, just pray wherever you are. Don't come near me. Whenever they will come with the Bible and they would put their Bible on me, I would be like, just take that thing off of me. Don't you think that I've prayed before? I've prayed. I believed until the very moment the doctor told me the pregnancy was over again. I was praying out loud. Where was God then? Where was God when I was going through all those tragedy? Where was God then? So it's all good and dandy to tell me, oh, you came back to life. why am I back? I didn't ask for such a prayer. My prayer was a normal one. I just wanted something simple, and I couldn't get the simple thing, so I don't want the extraordinary. I'm not interested in it. All I wanted was a life. I didn't want none of that. And um, eh, so during that process of having to find the nature of God, I found my own identity. I found healing. I found love for myself, love for God. And I actually learned who God was, because the religious way that I knew God, God was either supposed to give me things or he was going to punish me. It was one or the other. Jesus, I could relate because Jesus lived on earth. So he kind of like knew all the different things that we go through here, the good things, the bad thing. He went through betrayals and all that. So I could relate with Jesus. I could relate with the Holy Spirit. But God was a different thing. It's like the way he has been marketed, his PR didn't do a good job, because he's marketed as though he's only there to like count all the bad things that you do, and then he's gonna come and punish you. Or when he's not punishing you, you have to plead and plead to get something good. And when I went on that spiritual journey, it was, I had a first of knowing who he is. I was hungry for the word. I was hungry for him. And I discovered a first love I had lost. That love that you just love God because he's God. The way you love your parents, you don't love your parents because they're going to give you something. You don't love your parents because they're going to give you food. They're going to make sure that you go to school, or they're going to make sure that you have a roof over your head. Even like, even when I was pregnant, I never saw those babies alive outside of my body. I already loved them. I was already sacrificing for them. They had not given me anything. But the way you love a person, that kind of love, that is so genuine, that is so pure, that is not asking for anything apart from the presence of the person. I went back to it. I went from being the person who denied God, who didn't want to hear anything about him, who was chasing, everybody was trying, even just trying to talk to God about. I was like, don't you dare, just leave me alone. To now, co-hosting a Christian blog and coming live on it to talk about it. No one could have told me that 2 years ago. No one. I would have said never.
And getting ready to launch your own podcast.
Yeah. And now I'm even going to launch a podcast in March. So, and this is so against my personality because I'm an introvert. I hate being seen. I'm good with being in the background and making sure that another person has the spotlight. I celebrate the person. I make sure the person has everything they need. And that's where I get my joy. I don't get the joy of being like in front, being seen. Oh, it's like, for an introvert, it's just like, oh my God, people are looking at me. Oh my God. So it's really like, for me, this is costing me to be here. But I decided to come forth with that testimony and to do it this way, in a public way, not because I want people to know my life, but I heard before Christmas, I heard the stories of different young women who were pregnant, had miscarriages, and they were beaten down by their in-laws. And I was shocked. I was like, how is it that just because a woman cannot bring a pregnancy to term, you don't even know all the biological things that are happening? Maybe there's an incompatibility between the blood of the man and the blood of the woman, or whatever is happening, you have no idea. And you're going to beat um, a human being because they have had issues in bringing life to term. What about supporting the person? What about educating themselves? And I heard that one of the young ladies had died, and it really pained me because I was like, I didn't get beaten down by anyone. I died. I'm only here by the grace of God. I wasn't supposed to be here. every day for me is a bonus day. I was not supposed to be here. And on top of that, I was not supposed to be here talking, thinking normally. If I'm not telling you my story, you would not know. There is nothing on me, not even a scratch, that would show you the pain I went through. You would like, there is no scar on my body that I can show you that would be accountable for what I went through, the trauma that my family and we went through, the joy that we had to search to finally accept life and to finally come back to life and learn how to transcend tragedy into now nuggets of life, finding joy in the simple things, finding your own identity, my purpose, my calling. And this has been a journey. Would I want to do it differently? Yes, of course. No human being is signing up for pain or suffering. If anyone had told Joseph how he was going to end up to be the second in charge in command in Egypt back in the days, he would have said, no, thank you. I think that maybe God is not showing us all the steps because we will not sign up. There is no way we will sign up. We will just be like, nope, I'm
That
good
is
where I am.
so
And
true. Before you continue, Anais, I really want Marcus' input on this. Though this, like Marcus shared earlier, guys, if you are just joining us, thank you first of all for being part of the live today. Get ready with your question for Anais or for even Marcus. Marcus is part of a ministry called the Ark Ministry. And I'm going to share the links for the Ark Ministry Marketplace. The way we discovered the Ark Ministry Marketplace was through a friend and through Nadi at first, and then me, and then Anais. Because whenever something is good, you have to spread the good news, right? So that's what we did, and we were all ministered to. And we all were so, confirmed in what God was doing for us. And it helped us actually stay focused and aligned with the will of God for our lives and also for our businesses. So the marketplace ministry, the Ark Ministry had a marketplace ministry and a healing room. So the marketplace ministry actually minister to your business and to your vision and to whatever for entrepreneurs and business people. It was very amazing because we usually get prophecy for our own life, but we rarely think about getting prophecy over our businesses or whatever project we're working on. So I'm going to share the link for the market ministry. Guys, please feel free to go in, look at the website, and you have a way of scheduling a meeting. It is absolutely free of charge, and you have these amazing volunteers who actually pray with you and give you the word of the Lord for your mission, your enterprise, and your whatever endeavor you are, right now. Is absolutely like something that I will highly recommend if you are lacking, focus, if you are lacking I'll say confirmation about what God is trying to do in your life right now. And the section of the Act Ministry is the healing room. So I'm going to share both links. But Marcus, I want to hear about what do you think about Anais' testimony, and not just on a biblical perspective or the Holy Spirit perspective, but also like as a minister and as somebody who minister healing, the different traumas that she experienced, the different traumas that her family experienced, the suicide attempts, and all those different phases. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you. I mean, Anais, thank you so much for sharing. And it's just that perfect timing, right? In a season we're in right now with COVID, and people struggle with a lot of things. Just hearing a powerful testimony like yours, that literally lets hope arise. I mean, I'm just so fired up. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go out and pray for people. And as you were sharing, it just came to me like, in a way, I'm not really surprised that we hear a testimony like yours, because the Lord called us to go pray for the sick, or he actually healed the sick, right? Cleanse the leper and even raise the dead. Right? So if somebody gets healed, we're often like, oh my God, what? Somebody got healed? But it's like, it should be the norm. we should be like surprised if somebody doesn't get healed. So that's why we don't obviously hear too many testimonies from people who get raised from the dead, not even obviously how much less being raised from the dead twice. So again, I believe that's a triggering effect, that we're going to hear more and more testimonies of people getting raised, because obviously even myself, I want to be somewhere where there's a dead body and going and believing that the Lord's going to raise that body again, because he called us to do it, right? It's not like, well, you know, if whatever, no, he said, go. And he didn't say, well, and if it doesn't happen, then you do something else. There's no plan B. So if we know, and you said also about your identity, it's so important in this season right now to know who we are, our identity, who we are and whose we are, that there's nothing that can shake us, that there's nothing in this world that can give us what the Lord has for us. So and that's why no matter how little the testimony is or how big the testimony is, we have to brag about what Jesus is doing. And then obviously, I love that part where you said you were not in your body and you were like this delight, and the way you explained so beautifully, like, why did the Lord bring you back? It's like, you know, the Bible verse, it's not a called, but a chosen one, right? There's clearly a calling on your life. And, you know, we can read about those things and I can share your testimony. It's good, but it's not the same. So if you share it because you actually experienced it, that has a totally different impact. And, you know, you said you're an introvert. You don't like to be on stage and so on. That's why he chose you, right? That's why, like, if you would be qualified, if you did all the studies, if you did everything, and you would be like, I'm ready, the Lord would be like, go and clean the bathrooms. Now you literally the one who like, not me, not me, not me. Yes, I choose you, right? Like, Lord, I want to do everything, but it's like, and I take you for the but. So your testimony is going to have an impact. There's no doubt about it. We're going to share it left, right, and center. We know it. And then obviously, yeah, why are we coming back? I realized for myself, every time I ask the Lord why, I almost doubt him that he knows what he's doing, right? Like if I say, why did you do this? It's like, did you really know what you were doing? So I'm like, it's like, Lord, what's the purpose in you bringing me back? It's literally the same question, but in a different way. So the answer we often get, we don't like because we ask sometimes the wrong way, in a wrong way. But it's really, here again, there's a calling on you. Yes, you had to sacrifice a lot. I mean, just the pain you went through. I mean, we can only imagine. I mean, not even imagine on how painful it must have been. But now seeing you just even on the screen, the beauty you represent, the purity you represent, the face, I mean, just like a testimony for God. This is something like, this is unreal. And it's like, it's the journey, yeah, but now you're not even in your destiny, because again, there's so much ahead of you with your podcast and so on, you being alive. And so like, you've been dead, you had no blood, that doesn't make any sense. But yes, do not lean on your own understanding, right? So it is so powerful. And again, that the way we met all through the marketplace ministry, that was already prepared by the Lord, right? He knew already. We didn't know. We were like, we want to bless you guys, and that's it. And the Lord dropped the mic, and here we are, right? That's bringing the church together. And just like all he does is just like, yes, don't lean on your own understanding. Let him do what he does best. And yeah, it's literally in this season, people might be like, well, why did she get raised from the dead? And why did my parents pass away? Or why did it happen to me? I had the same experience. Both of my parents passed away on cancer. I got healed twice on my own body. I was for a very, very short season also, Lord, why did you heal me twice, but you didn't heal my parents? And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And literally I was like, even if you would tell me why, I probably would never understand it. So I know there's one thing the Lord cannot do. He cannot fail us. And he doesn't make any mistakes, right? So like, okay, Lord, I trust you that you know what you're doing. I will never understand it, but the good thing is one day I will see him. And then even though obviously I see other people get healed, when I pray for people, knowing back then my parents passed away, I always rejoice in the breakthrough I see. And that, again, one day I will see my parents again. So it's like the more literally, it's like the more you do in the kingdom, the more you eat in the kingdom, the hungrier you get. In the naturalist, the more you eat, the less hungry you are. So it's really in the supernatural, it's just the opposite from what the world is doing. So yeah, that's in short what literally came to my mind while Anaïs was sharing.
It's so interesting that you said that about like the passing of parents and seeing the healing for other people and not like for yourself and not for your loved ones, because again, Anais is sharing her testimony, but this is actually a testimony of a whole family. When we had the French version last week, like her whole family was online, and because they don't speak English, I guess they're more French speaking people. Like you could have seen from what they were sharing, their part of the experience, which was very interesting to see how some were crying, and as they were crying, think she was dead. Here she comes alive. I mean, it was very emotional last week. I was not as, good and well put together as I was today. I was totally like in a meltdown mode. But also Nadi, you joined us today, but I know this is a very personal also testimony to you, as Anais shared about like the place where she was when she passed away. I'm gonna let you share your story. Of course, I don't want to share it for you, but like, thank you for joining us, and we want to hear from you about what this is bringing to you in terms of
Yeah.
healing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. And thank you, Anaïs, for just your courage and just for being bold enough to share your story with us, and for Marcus for being a part of this as well. I think it hits close to home, and something that Marcus had just said about your parents and that healing process, because I recently, after a long battle with my mom, she recently passed away, and it's, we never know the reason why God will do things, and we'll never understand the reasons why, I was healed of certain things and she wasn't. And, the process, as much as we pray and give and do for them, and, we give our heart to the Lord about them and intercede for them. So it was definitely such, for me to hear, the parts that you were discussing about today with your family, and to just kind of see your family's interaction as you were talking about it. I could see it from the other side of the spectrum, and it just was so heartwarming to understand sometimes the true scope of God's teaching to us. Like we'll never understand the lessons. We'll never understand, when Marcus said that, we won't be able to lean on our own understanding, but it's just the fact that, we're not supposed to lean on our own understanding, and we'll never really understand why he's doing it. But the fact that he is working in such a way, and the impact that will come, that sooner or later, it does nothing but help you build that level of trust and faith in him, to say, you know what, I don't understand what's happening, and I don't, this is what the world has taught me, but I'm choosing to believe in you and what you're doing and the glory that you're going to bring. And I am just like, when I heard your story the first time, I was just like, wait, what? I had to really make sure I understood, like I really understood what it was that really happened. And to see you today, I'm like, to me, it's like, I know that God is going to so powerfully. There's so much, if not already, what, the people that you're impacting, your life, the ones around you. It's just, I think it's amazing. And I'm trying to kind of I'm usually the one that keeps myself together. And so when I hear your story, and I'm like I on the verge of like, oh my goodness, I just can't believe this. I think it was just so amazing, the glory of God. And I think I felt such a way when Marcus had said it's true. The peace of God is on you, like the beauty of God, that presence that you carry with you is so impactful. And I'm just like in awe about it, because I've already told you this is going to be a movie. I was already told you about this. I'm like, this is going to be something where you're going to impact way more people than you actually think. But to me, it's just been a journey for me, being on this healing process as well, and understanding, the reason that God does the things that he does. You are one of those reasons for me. And I do not, try to analyze, because I'm like, Lord, you're doing it for her. There's so much that you're already crying. You can't, because we're trying to keep it together. But I am so thankful just to be a part of just this experience, and just understand to, to the minuscule amount that we as human beings on earth will understand what God has for us and has for us as a humanity is just amazing in your story. I just think it's just like breathtaking, just breathtaking. So thank you.
Thank you. I actually wanted to mention that on the chat right now, there are few of my friends who are logged in from Zambia, and past co-workers as well, and they were sent pictures and videos of me being in the ICU, and it was really hard for them. So they hear and they're writing message. I can see it on the comments, and hi Hope. And yeah, it's been very difficult for them as well those past 2 years, and some of them, they never failed to send me, despite me not wanting to pray anymore, they never failed to send me a prayer every single day for the past 2 years. And they ministered to me through love, through um some didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. They were at lost as well because this was so overwhelming for everyone, and but never ceased to be there in some form of ways. And I said it last week in French, and I want to say it again for my Anglophone people. Whenever you are going through something, the company you keep or even the people who are around you will determine how you come out of it. The people who were around me, whether it was physically or even being abroad and using every kind of ways to reach me, even when I was completely unreachable, I was emotionally unreachable, and I was not part of their life for the past 2 years. They've been going through their own things as well, and I couldn't be there for anyone. I couldn't even be there for myself. I had so many battles that I couldn't even be there for anyone, but still, they would talk to me the way they saw me, like as my real identity, not defining me through what I was going through the tragedy that had struck me. They were talking to me as per the value and as per the perspective of life. And those people, they poured life into me. I realized that we all have a tank. And even if you want to choose life, you need people around you when you are completely broken, when you are completely at loss. You need those people to be able to seep life into you like a drip. Even if it took time, it took 2 years for me. But today, I am the product of everyone's prayer, of everyone pouring some word, everyone pouring their love any way they did, any way they could. And because of that, I'm so ever grateful because it has been challenging for everyone. My heart family, who are my friends, my blood family, it's been hard for everyone. You don't know what to do. And I just want to say to those people who are treating women whenever they can't bring life to term as if they were some things that you can just throw away. We are someone's daughter. We are someone's sister, the same way you have a mother, a daughter, a sister. You wouldn't want somebody to do that to them. Maybe there is a new shift of mentality that needs to happen. What about doing the same thing my friends and family did? Pour out some love. Be the love that somebody cannot be for themselves. And if you can't do that, then don't destroy that person because the whole experience is already so traumatic. Some people are going through other sort of devastation of their own. They've lost loved ones. You don't need judgment. You don't need somebody to bring an expiry date to your pain. You don't enjoy being in the pain already, but as it says in the Bible, there is a time for everything. There is a time to grieve. And you need to let that person grieve so that they won't carry this their whole entire life. They need that time to honor the life that has been lost.
those projects they will never do, those conversations that will never happen, those reconciliation that will never take place, those places, those dreams they had, whether it was a life that you were carrying within yourself, whether it was a friend, a parent, a loved one. You need to grieve that life. It is an important part of you healing. Because I was allowed to grieve without being given an expiry date, today I'm back to being full of life. Unless I tell you my story, you cannot know. Some people are being stuck in the rut for a whole year in 2019. My whole question was, why me? It's not that I'm wishing bad on anyone, but we are 7 billions on this earth. Why me? Why is it always me? Why am I going through so much hardship? Why? And then at some point, you see your body as a tomb. You cannot distinguish your body from a tomb because life always ends in it. And people don't understand that you are dressing up just because, well, you're supposed to dress up. Otherwise, you have no more it's like I didn't even know who I was anymore. I couldn't stand my body anymore because my body was wreaking death. It was just a death place for me, and I couldn't escape my whole body. And it's a whole work I had to do to still be able to accept my body, thank him for everything it went through, and still being there without even a scar on it that is showing all the pain, all the suffering that we went through. I had to see myself as a carrier of life, and I was only able to do that because I was able to get good resources. Today, the internet is flooding us with enough good teacher that we can have the word. And even when I was completely disconnected from the word because I just could not understand God anymore, and I didn't know who he was, I was blessed to have the right mentors, the right coach, the right friends, the right family members around me. And I didn't have the toxic people. I kept them at bay. I could not. I was toxic enough for myself. I didn't need any help. The help that I needed was to get healed mentally, emotionally, physically. I was broken. I needed to be healed and to be restored and to be put back together. And after being touched by God, by being brought back to life, and when I chose life, I was being now able to be touched by his love. And his love healed me. But you can't receive God's love, God that you've never seen, if you can't receive the love of the people around you, people that you see who are representative of God. And that was through all kind of things. It could be a message. It could be a prayer that I was receiving, even when I could not stand God. You never know what a prayer is doing. Keep sending it. Even if the person doesn't speak to you, keep sending it. I was not responding to those people who were sending me messages. I couldn't. I like, the phone and me were two different people. We were just like, it was like my phone was somewhere else. It could take me 2 weeks, a month before I could answer a message. I couldn't stand the sentence, "How are you?" I was broken. I had nothing else to say to anyone, and I was sick and tired of my own situation. But it took time, and time, it sucks to say that, but it's the truth. Time and the right people around you will help you shift the right mindset, will help you get back on course. And people will treat you with decency, with respect, and with love, even when you've just completely broken and when you've lost everything. Some people have lost their job. Some people in this pandemic, they've lost the house, the job, the money, their identity, loved one, and they're at a point where they feel they have nothing left and they want to commit suicide, or they've even attempted to do that. I've been in that place, so I know how it feels. I used to think that suicide was for weak people. I've understood that suicide is for human beings. Depression happens to human beings. It doesn't happen to weak people. It happens to a human. It happens to a human in a state of vulnerability when all your hopes have been dashed and you are shattered and you feel like you're not being rewarded for the sacrifices you have done. Your pain is valid. Your pain is valid. You have to say it to yourself. Where you are right now suck. It's not fair. But there is another chapter. This is only a chapter. This is not your whole life. Choose life. The only reason why I'm able to say my story today is because thanks to my brother and sister, they found me when I committed suicide. And after that, I still had to choose life. And I chose life each and every day until it became normal. It took me 2 years to accept to be alive, to choose to be alive, to reconnect with life, to love life, to become the real version of me. I used to be full of life. I used to make plans for years ahead. And when I was broken, nobody could recognize me. No one could recognize me. No one had ever seen me like that. I never thought I could commit suicide. When I arrived at that point, I was like, I didn't know that person. I didn't even know that person was in me. I didn't know I could do this. And you feel so ashamed that you don't even know how to talk to people, and you feel trapped because you've been resurrected. How on earth are you going to tell people that, well, I still don't want to live, when everybody is losing people and they are seeing it as a miracle, and you don't see your own situation as a miracle? You only see the losses. You've been through so much losses that you can't even see that one win. And you don't have the strength to believe, because believing again takes strength. Believing again, hoping again, it takes a strength that you don't even have, because you've been accustomed to living in losses, disappointment, that you think that this is all it's going to be. It's not all it's going to be. For my people who are trying suicide right now, just hang on. It's hard. It's painful. It sucks. But this is just a chapter. It's not your whole story. There is another chapter. You have a whole life after this. Choose life. Choose, even if you only have one person around you who believes in you. Stuck to this person. Feed yourself on every positive word you can find. If, like, I couldn't read the Bible anymore, so what I did, I use apps. You have all sort of apps today that create a creative way to read the Bible. The U version. There's another one in French that is called Top Chrétien. They have it in English as well. And they've made some sort of like small movie where you can read the Bible like a movie. Those apps helped me. There is a way. You have to find a way that is relatable to you, in the way that you can relate to the word and go on your own journey. Find yourself. You're going to find yourself. I found out that tragedies allowed me to reveal my true self. I realized that the way we are living, sometimes we are even trapped inside a self that we think that we are, but it's a counterfeit. It's a counterfeit self. The real you, it's like a fruit. You will never be able to drink coconut water or eat the flesh of it if you don't break the shell. And some of us, we are in the shell of the environment we grew in, the mentality we have been built into. And sometimes we've been built into a mentality of defeat, a mentality of dysfunction, and we don't know anything else. And we think that this is who we are. But God is saying that this is not who you are. I'm not saying that God is the one who created all the tragedies that happened to me, but he used it to reveal myself, my true self, my real purpose, my real calling, what I was meant to do. I would have never found out. Would I want it to find out this way? No, obviously no. Would I want to go through this again? No, I don't want to go through this again. But as I was going through this, at some point I said to God, I didn't ask for any of this, but The same way Elijah asked for double, the same way you gave double to Job. I'm not saying I'm as good at them. I'm far from being as good as they were. But I want triple for my ashes. When I come back, I want to be better than the way I entered those situations. I'm already broken. Well, use this time to break anything and everything that is hindering me. Even if I'm being my own enemy, break it in me. I'm already broken. There's nothing else that is left. I don't want it. If it's not from you, I don't want it. Whatever it is, a job, a relationship, even those children that I want so badly. I did like Abraham. I put it on the altar. I said, if I was never to have children, if I was never to be married, God, it's you that I want, because where you are is where is everything I need. And wherever you have purpose for me, the children that you want me to carry, they would come only if you decide to. I don't know why it has to be so difficult for me. Other people don't even want children. They even go for abortion, and they're the one who have the children. And me, I keep on having miscarriages after another one. If I'm not meant to be a mother, or if I'm meant to be a mother a different way, show me. And if I'm not, I'm putting this on the altar. I want you to take it away and give me my purpose, so I can know what I'm assigned for, and I can do it fully. And it was painful, it was difficult, but when you give your dreams, when you give it all sincerely to God, when He give it back to you, He gives it to you way much better than you ever thought possible. When He gives it back to you, He will take all those unnecessary things away. He will give it in a more mature way, in a way that it makes you understand and value the dreams and go for it. And then it makes you understand the journey you're on. Some athletes, they have the hurdle race. Others, they have the marathon. Others, they, how do you call that in English? The one where they have to be the fastest one. Each and every one of us, we have different race. When you know your race, when you know what you are purposed for, whatever comes in it, you know it's the package. I've never seen a race where the guy jumped 3, 4, 5 hurdles, and then he see the 6th one and he's like, oh no, I'm not doing this again. This is so unfair. The one running the marathon doesn't have any hurdle. Why do I have hurdles? He knows this is part of his race, and he runs it, and he prepares for it. You don't ever see him going under the hurdles. He will jump over it. He has learned how to do it. He has learned the pace. He has learned the reason for it, and he enjoys his race. So if whatever we are going through, each of us, we all have our difficulties. We all have our challenges. Choose your difficulty. It is difficult for everyone. Behind our most beautiful smiles, we all have challenges. But choose your challenges. Choose your difficulty. Choose to grow. Choose life. It is worth it. You are worth it. If you are still here, if you are still breathing, it's because you are worth it. It's because God loves you. There was that praise that stuck me one day. It says, it's your breath.
Nice. I'm gonna keep continue, but before we started, I know you wanted me to share the pictures that you sent me of before, for people to see your testimony. So I'm gonna try to do that as you speak.
Okay.
You know, hoping that technology will agree with us.
And I just wanted to add while she's sharing that something that came to me as you're talking is that this, not even just the resurrection part, this part after the aftermath and the resurrection of yourself after this part, this is what's really going to be blessing people so much, because I feel it so powerfully when you're talking about choosing life and choosing to be who God called you to be. I pray that everybody is just completely being blessed by this, because I am, and I've already like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I thank you for that. Oh, yep, there are your pictures.
So
Yeah.
those pictures were actually taken a month after I left ICU, because every picture that of me in ICU that was sent to my heart family who lives abroad, or even my blood family who lives abroad, they all deleted it because it was too painful for them. I think that Hope is on this live chat. She can maybe comment. She deleted all of it. It was too painful for them to see me the way I was, or branched out to so many machines, and the fear that I was not going to make it through the night, or I was not going to make it through the day. I had several seizures. It has been a journey. It was painful. So for me to go from this girl here who looks like death, actually, I look like I was in pain. I look like I was seriously in pain. To me today, it has been a process. It's one day at a time. Sometimes all I could do was breathe. That's all I could do. I was just breathing. And then I remember that praise song that would say, "It's your breath in my lungs, so I will give you praise." And then I realized that the Bible says the way we have been created, and God breathed himself inside of us. When I actually realized those sentences, every time I was breathing, and I was not breathing out of a machine anymore, I gave God praise, because I know what it is to be in ICU. I know what it is to depend on someone to bring you to the toilets. I know how it is to be bedbound. I know how it is to have to learn how to walk, to not even know anymore, am I ever going to be able to walk? Am I ever going to function again? Am I going to stay this broken? Am I going to be alive again? Am I going to be this person I used to be? And today I'm not the best version of me. I am the God version of me. I am God's dream in the making, just like any of you. We are God's dream in the making. When God created us, just like a parent, the same way you are preparing life for your children, you want to make sure they would have everything they need. God did the very same thing when he started with creating earth. He never came back and planted again another tree. He planted everything. He did everything. He put everything in place so that we would have everything we need. We are God's dream in the making. What is that dream that God has for you? None of us want to pay the price, but can you believe in him? Can you trust him? And can you trust yourself the same way God trusts you? God trusts you so much that he created you for a purpose. Even the devil believes in you. This is why he's attacking you so much. He's attacking each and every one of us. No one throws a stone at an empty tree. No one. Because the devil believes in you so much. That's the reason why he's attacking you. But what we usually tend to do, we tend to walk alongside him because we blame God for everything, because we don't know his true nature. We don't really know who he is. And the one who made his PR did such a bad job that for more than for millennium, we are just believing it, that somehow God is the bad guy. Somehow. We kind of like fear him, but if we could say it out loud, we would be like, ugh, this one, maybe he is the bad guy because he promised me this. If God has promised you something, it's because he knows. The way I'm trying to make sense of things that happen to me is like, whatever object we are using today, let's take a car. A car is never put on the street unless it has gone through specific tests. Even a car crash. If the car could speak, the car would find it so unfair. The car would say, why did you make sure to build me with all those specific things only to send me
and crush me on this wall or on this tree and all that. It's because the maker, the manufacturer, is making sure that the brakes, the tires, everything is working before they can safely put it on the street for everybody to use. I've tried to put that image for me in my own life, and I was like, what if what I'm going through are crash tests to prepare me, to build me up? It's part of my package. Instead of me spending my time comparing myself to another person, I have to make sure that I know my purpose so that I don't get distracted. And if I ever compare myself to another person, it's for inspiration, not to depreciate myself, but to be inspired. And this is the lessons I've learned. This is how I've learned how to transcend my pain, my suffering, and get back to knowing God, knowing myself, knowing my purpose, and having now a healthier relationship with God, having a real personal relationship with Him, and being able to. And today, when I come here, it is unlike me, it is unlike my personality, but I feel like there is someone, at least one person, for whom this testimony is purpose for, and in any way or capacity this has taught you and can help you see your life or the things that you are going through and decide, what is my course? Am I a marathon runner? Am I a speed runner? Am I a hurdle runner? And that you will know how to shift your mindset so that you can live the life that God has intended for you, because you are God's dream. Don't let distraction, life, because you don't have the right perspective about life, rob you from knowing that you are God's dream. He loves you. He's after your heart. He has already entrusted you with everything you need, just like as if you were a cell phone. If you are a cell phone or a smartphone, if you are a smartphone, smartphones have so many capacities, so many things they can do. What if the cell phone was to say, no, I don't believe I'm a cell phone, because the cell phone has the imposter syndrome, and the cell phone was saying, I think I'm a chair. A chair is useful, but you can't do with a chair what you're going to do with a smartphone. And that, I think that this is how we are with God. We want to be something we are not so badly, that he is so patient with us, to trying to show us, but I've made you, I've created you so beautifully, so wonderfully. There are so many abilities inside of you. Why would you want to scale down and just be that one thing that you're not? And there are other people waiting for what and who you are, who are going to be able to benefit from the things that you are going to give them. You not being able to do or not doing what you purpose to do is robbing other people of the solution that you are for them. And I want to say to all the people suffering from the imposter syndrome, if God has tasked you to do something, it means He believes in you, because He's the one who created you. The one who made the Apple phone, the iPhone, or the Samsung. If one of those gadgets was to tell them they are not a smartphone, they can't do what it says on the manual, they would just be like, okay, let me show you. And so what I want to say is, like, you are not qualified enough to tell God that you are disqualified for what He has for you. There is no way you can disqualify yourself from what He has qualified you. You are not qualified enough for that.
That is so powerful. That is
how can the smartphone go to his manufacturer and say, I'm not qualified to be what you've made of me? If our phone was talking back to us and saying, I'm not what you think, we will be like, but I see who you are. And that's the same thing with God. And you will recognize the life carrier, the people who are part of your circle of purpose, because they will light up life in you the same way Mary and Elizabeth lit up life inside of each other.
Wow.
So powerful.
We're coming to, 2 hours of live, and I know
Mm.
that, I'll make sure that we are very aware of like Marcus' time, because he's here with us. And this is such a powerful testimony that I know that we decided to do it in 2 parts. So this is a part one, I believe, and the second part that we're gonna do next, not this next week, but the week after, in 2 weeks. So hang tight, guys. But like, Marcus, I'm not sure if you're gonna be part of the second part, but like, we will be grace to have you again, and honored to have you as a guest, as Anaïs share her testimony. What kind? I know you were very quiet. You were reflecting. I can see in your face that you were taking mental note, even like physical notes. So I want to give you the stage to share maybe a little bit more, and then your conclusion. And then Nali, and then we're gonna get back to Anaïs, and then we're gonna close for today.
Mhm. Yeah, what hit me actually while Anaïs was sharing, still the second part is your family, right? You talked obviously a lot about what you experienced, but it's very important to speak a little bit about your family as well, and your friends who were in the hospital and so on. And you said also the community, especially in the time we're living in right now, it's very, very important to have the right people around ourselves. And so you had the family, they prayed for you. They saw you being raised the first time around. Then you passed away again, but they never gave up on God. They never gave up on you. So they interceded for you. You didn't have the hope. You were obviously out and so on. And even while you were recovering the whole year, you may have not had a faith, but other people, they carried you through the whole season. And that reminded me of the story in the Bible where the 4 friends lowered their friends through the roof right in front of Jesus. Right in it, the guy got healed because of the faith of his friends, not his own faith. So, but the Lord obviously knew the outcome of your story. He knew what he's going to start, he's going to finish. So I want to encourage actually everybody who's on the call here to, if you have friends, family members, they're struggling or they don't know the Lord even yet, to never give up praying for those people, because the Lord knows the timing. And if they don't have the faith, it's almost impossible for them to come to faith, right? But if we intercede, if we love those people for who they are and not judging them for what they may or may not do, then the Lord can encounter them, and that's all they need. They need an encounter with God, and you had it obviously in a powerful way. So I believe if you really like, ask the Lord, who do you want me to pray for? And then stick with it. We give sometimes up too easy. We pray once, we pray twice, and then nothing happens, we give up. But there's so many testimonies where parents prayed for their children for years and years and years, and then the day came. In an instant, they literally forgot everything, all those 14, 15, 16 years they prayed for, because in the moment where they celebrated and gave God the glory. So I guess that's also a very important part in your story, which I love a lot, that your parents and your friends and family never gave up on you, and they never doubted God that he's going to come through. So again, it's just so powerful. And again, an encouragement for everybody around us. If you prayed for somebody or for something and you've given up, go back to it. It's a season where we're going to see breakthrough. It could be financially, it could be a job, it could be obviously a healing, whatever it might be. The Lord will and comes through. He's a good Father, and he just knows what he's doing. That's my little conclusion for today.
Oh wow.
Right. Yes. I think listening to you this past segment, one thing that stood out to me, and it's something that happens to a lot of people, is that we all go through what I like to call our sandpaper seasons where things are going to rub us the wrong way. They're going to make us feel some type of way. And the concept that you had talked about imposter syndrome is such a big thing amongst different demographics of life, whether it's you're in the church or not, your age groups or not, careers or not. And I think that it's so important to understand that the sandpaper seasons, that although, as you mentioned, are not things that God may cause, but that he will bring us through. But what ends up happening after you saying something, in that line of work, when they are using that sandpaper, the brilliance of whatever it is that they were doing ultimately will come to light. And so for me, the conclusion was, what I took away from that was that, continue to be, like you said, you may not always know every little thing that you are purposed to do, but continue to seek him, continue to be diligent, and fight that feeling of, I am not, and I think one of the encouragements that I would give people is that, and especially something I'm doing in this season, for every time that I know that the enemy is coming with this thought about what I am not, I kind of remind myself of what I am and what I'm capable of, because that's going to push you through that moment of dealing with that imposter syndrome. That's going to keep you from running at the full capacity, the full purpose to what God has called you to do. So thank you so much for that. I mean, that was just really powerful. I mean, I love your metaphors. They're great. But but thank you so much, Anaïs. I'm like, I can't wait for part 2. We're just gonna have to definitely continue on. But yes, that's my conclusion.
Yeah. And for me, because I'm going to give you the word of the end, Anaïs, because today was your day, I'll say that you sharing your story, you already know how I reacted the first time, and then having the conversation with your mom and hearing, like, because when you shared that, we hear your story, right? But like when actually speaking and interacting with your family, we hear what that was for them and who you are in their life, even though you don't see yourself like that. And sharing how your brother is begging you to come to life. I mean, and you bringing hope to all the women who maybe cannot, bring children to life, and who are struggling, taking medication and doing so much to be accepted by society at the risk of their own.
Yet.
Not yet.
Mm.
And very, very, very important, very important. And like,
Because they are a life carrier. So
they are life
cannot
carriers. Indeed, and not yet. But like what I mean by that is more like people who are suffering from society standards, and like you said, trying to commit suicide and trying to do this, and having your brother even reminding you that before you create your own family, you come from a family. That was for me the very powerful testimony of like reminding ourselves that, especially as women, we want to, we want to found a family, we want to be married, and we want to have children, but we also are somebody's children, and we also are somebody's sisters and brothers, and we also have a family before we go into a new family. So I think that for me is what I'm taking away from this, is not to forget that though I have all those wishes as a single woman, I also have to honor my family. I have to honor my dad. I have to honor the ones that I have right now until the Lord release me to a new family. So I think, like, for me, you sharing your testimony has so many impact in so many layers. Sharing the power where you were at peace when you went to the other side, for people who just are in a season of grieving, and having them understand that their loved ones are in a better place right now. And it's not just like a theory, it's actually for real. So many layers of the testimony, and how you slowly came back to life. I think is why we're going to talk about in the part 2, like the processes of coming back to life. You share a piece of it in terms of like the physical and the spiritual aspect, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth in 2 weeks about like what that process was for you, and some of the challenges that you had to face and how you overcame them. So I want to thank you really for trusting the platform, for trusting me as a friend, and for just like being who you are, because being with you, working with you, clearly, like, unless you share your story, no one will know. For me, the part that kills me is like you had no blood, and all of a sudden, like, you just came back alive with blood in your body. Like, so many questions that I will have for the doctors at this point, that I don't even, I'm not even sure they themselves have the answer to this. But it's just like, we're just going to live it, not to lean on our own understanding, just like Marcus and Nadi said before, but to just trust the Lord and pray that he revealed to you what your purpose is, and that he have revealed to you why you are still here. All those questions that you were saying, why me? Why not you? At the end of the day, he always says in the Bible also that he will use the most I don't know what the correct term is, but like the ones that no one will care about. And this is what we are about in the chosen sheep, is because for all the people who felt at some point that they were
The
like
least of them.
the list of the black sheeps, the
Right.
outcasts, all the people who were rejected. We wanted to give them a platform where they could just be themselves. And as Anaïs is sharing her story today, we invite any of you to share your own story, to tell us who you are, to tell the world what God has done for you and how you have overcome some of your challenges. You can reach us through our platforms, through the website, through our social media. We would love to hear your story.
Yes.
If you have not yet read Anna's story, is available online on the His Chosen Sheep blog. Thank you, Anais. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Nali. Thank you, everybody. And I'm gonna let Anais have the last word, and then we're gonna see you guys in 2 weeks for the English-speaking people, and next week for the bilingual people.
Thank you, everybody, for being part of the live. And I really pray that although people will not go through the very specifics I went through, we all know and we all have experienced losses. We all have experienced different stages of not knowing our identity. We all experience stages of doubting God or even denying Him and trying to find the purpose. Why am I here on this earth? And all those sorts of existential crises. As a human being, this is part of our journey. And what I would like to say as a closing word is that you are God's dream in the making. Your life is worth it. Choose life. Love yourself the same way God loves you. And then you can love others. Let's not take our original families and friends and loved ones for granted. And let's love them while we are still alive. The unfair thing that I realized when I came back from the other side is to see the pain on my loved ones. I was in a place of peace. I was in a place of love when I died. I was not in pain at all. I was in a place that I even wanted to go back there. But for the people who were staying on this side, it was so painful. It is really a different experience. When you're dead, you don't know how much our people are in pain. I came back from the dead and I experienced their pain. I experienced their mourning of me, even though I was still alive. And it was devastating to feel it. So let's love each other while we are alive. You want to call someone and let them know you love them? Do so. You want to text them? Send them a text. Say just I love you, I think about you, I wish you this, or I pray for your success, I pray um for your health, whatever it is. Let's not send flowers and buy the greatest casket or say all those meaningful words to somebody who cannot hear us anymore. So that will be my last word. Let's love each other while we are here, while we are alive. And let's believe that we have done enough when someone passes away so that we can allow ourselves to start the process of grieving and the different type of grievance that we have to do, whether it's grieving a job, a career that you're not going to have, the type of life you thought you were going to have, the type of children you thought that you were going to have, and you ended up having a child that has special needs, or maybe that has autism, or that ends up in gang or is in a psychiatric care. We need to grieve what we thought we were going to have so that we can embrace what we have and we can purposely know how to live in that season and grow in that season and love in that season as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking a part in that chat, for taking 2 hours of your time to be with us. And we appreciate that. If you can send a link to someone you may think is in need, someone who's going through a hard time, family members who have no idea how to be the best support for their child or whoever is going through a hard time, send them this link, and maybe there's a word. For me, sometimes it was only a word that helped me. It wasn't the whole sentence, it wasn't even the whole 2 hours, but just a word was enough to sustain me for the day. You never know the life that you can reach and who it can help. So let's help each other while we are alive.
Thank you, Anaïs. Thank you, everybody, for being with us for the moments. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.
As always, remember, you are a purpose in process. And I will steal Anaïs' words today and say that you are God's dream.
That was amazing.
Right?
In the making.
That's it, right,
We
Anaïs?
are God's dream in the making.
God's dream in the making.
You are God's dream in the making. Thank you,
You're
Anaïs.
not a failure. You're not an abandoned construction site. You are God's dream in the making.
God's dream in the making.
Amazing. Thank you, guys, and we will see you next in 2 weeks or next week if you want to speak in person.
Hope and Priscilla, see you in the chat.